Welcome to Our Weird World, where each week we gather around the bonfire to uncover the world's most fascinating legends and mysteries. Tonight, we bring you the story of the woman in red at the Drake Hotel. So sit back, relax, and let the flames of our virtual campfire help cast some light on the truth of this legend. The Drake Hotel was born in splendor. In the early 1920s, Chicago was a city on the rise, its skyline a jagged row of ambition and progress. It was a place where fortunes were made overnight and dreams, as fragile as champagne bubbles, rose and burst in an instant. And amid the grandeur of the era, the Drake Hotel was built as a temple of luxury. On New Year's Eve 1920, the Drake opened its gilded doors to Chicago's elite. It was an opulent marvel, towering over the city at the corner of Walton Place and North Michigan Avenue, its majesty glistening like a polished jewel in the cold December air. With Italian Renaissance-inspired architecture, marble floors that echoed with the footsteps of the wealthy, and chandeliers that rained light like golden stars, the Drake was a place fit for royalty. On that particular night, the grand ballroom was alive with the music of a full orchestra. Velvet curtains lined the walls, and guests swirled across the floor, their laughter mixing with the notes of the waltz. Champagne glasses clinked, voices sang in the toast of the new year, and men in tailored tuxedos whispered promises to women in sequins and silk. And among them, there was one woman who would be remembered forever. She arrived as a vision, stepping into the ballroom with the confidence of someone who knew the effect she had on people. The woman's dress was red, scarlet, vibrant, and alive. The silk clung to her figure and shimmered like firelight with every graceful movement. She was striking, with raven dark hair pinned in perfect waves and a beauty that stopped conversations mid-sentence. Guests couldn't help but steal glances. Some whispered, others openly gawked. But the man on her arm paid no mind to the crowd. He was dashing and distinguished in his own right, a prominent figure in Chicago society. He held her hand as though he owned the world, and she its greatest treasure. They moved through the room like royalty, champagne in hand, smiles as bright as the chandeliers overhead. To the outside world, the couple appeared flawless, as though plucked from the cover of a magazine, but beneath the glitter and poise, a shadow lingered. The woman in red, her name now lost to history, was no stranger to the whispers. Some said she was his mistress. Others said that she was his wife, the one he flaunted more than he loved. And a few claimed that he was already married, but to someone else. But none of this mattered to her that night. The music played on, the clock inched toward midnight, and the Drake Hotel became a world unto itself, a kingdom of excess, hidden from the Chicago's chill outside. As the orchestra struck up a livelier tune, the woman excused herself. She glided through the crowd, her dress flowing like liquid fire. Up the marble staircase she went, the faint scent of her perfume trailing behind her. She wanted air, a reprieve from the noise and heat, and so she stepped out onto one of the hotel's lavish terraces. The cold bit into her skin, but she welcomed it. From her high vantage point, Chicago stretched out before her like a dark sea. She looked down at the street far below, where gas lamps glowed like distant stars, and carriages carried partygoers through the snow. But something wasn't right. She turned back toward the ballroom, only to see through the window what she wasn't meant to witness. There he was, her man, but no longer alone. A woman stood beside him, her face half lit in the ballroom's golden light. He leaned in close, whispering something into her ear, and she laughed. It was an intimate laugh, one that didn't belong to a stranger. The woman in red felt her heart sink like an anchor. A fury unlike anything she'd ever known began to rise in her chest. Betrayal, public, humiliating, and final, had found her. She clutched the stone railing of the terrace, her breath misting in the freezing air. No one saw her fall. One moment she was there, a scarlet silhouette against the winter sky, and the next she was gone. Guests claimed they heard a faint scream, but most brushed it off as part of the revelry. Only when a guest stumbled on the street below did the truth reveal itself. There, lying motionless in the cold pavement, was the woman in red. Her once glorious dress fanned out around her like a pool of blood. Snowflakes dusted her hair and lashes. Her eyes frozen open in an expression of shock. It was as though the cold Chicago night had claimed her, a silent witness to her despair. The hotel fell silent as the word spread. The man she'd come with vanished that night, his name unrecorded in history. Some say he left the Drake in shame. Others whisper he fled out of fear, knowing her death was tied to him. but no one truly knows. The woman in red was buried without ceremony, her story reduced to a cautionary tale among the elite. Her name, her real name, faded into obscurity. Only the legend remained. Over the decade, the Drake Hotel was retained its beauty, its walls a testament to countless celebrations and secrets. But among its guests, whispers still circulate of the woman in red. The first sightings came only years after her death. A maid cleaning one of the upper floors claimed to see a woman in a red dress standing at the end of a hallway. She assumed the guest had lost her way and approached her to offer assistance. But as she neared, the figure simply disappeared, vanished as though swallowed by the air. More reports followed. Guests and staff alike often described similar encounters. Glimpses of a woman in a flowing red dress wandering the hallways or standing silently on the terrace. Some even reported feeling a sudden chill, accompanied by the faint scent of perfume lingering in the air. One businessman, staying in a corner suite on the 10th floor, awoke in the middle of the night to see a woman standing near the window. The moonlight illuminated her dress, red, vibrant, and impossible to miss. He called out to her, assuming it was an intruder, but she turned to face him and he froze. Her face was as pale as porcelain, her dark eyes locking onto his. Then, in an instant, she was gone. Another story tells of a newlywed couple who checked into the Drake for their honeymoon. Late one night, the bride was woken by an odd sensation, a feeling of being watched. She opened her eyes to see a figure standing in the corner of the room. It was a woman in red, her face hidden by the shadows. The bride blinked and the figure was gone, but the faint sound of a woman's sob echoed through the room. Many believe the woman in red lingers at the Drake Hotel because her death was no accident. Theories abound. Some say she was accidentally pushed. Others insist she jumped in a moment of heartbreak. But a darker story persists, that she was murdered by the very man who betrayed her. According to this version of the events, the man followed her onto the terrace that night, desperate to stop her from causing a scene. Heated words turned to anger, and in a fit of rage, he shoved her. The stone railing was icy and she lost her grip. She fell to her death as he stood frozen in horror. If this is true, then her spirit roams the Drake Hotel, not just in sorrow, but in vengeance. Guests who encounter her report an overwhelming sense of sadness mixed with fury, a presence that seems to carry the weight of betrayal. To this day, the Drake staff warn curious visitors not to linger too long on the upper terraces at night. They say that if you stand there alone, you might hear the faint rustle of silk or catch the flicker of a red dress out of the corner of your eye. Some have even felt a cold hand brush against theirs as though someone unseen is trying to pull them closer to the edge. The legend of the woman in red has become part of the Drake Hotel's history. Skeptics dismiss it as folklore, a ghost story born from tragedy and retold for nearly a century. But for those who have seen her, for the guests who wake to find a woman standing at their window, or the staff who feel her presence lingering in empty hallways, she is very real. The Drake remains a jewel of Chicago, its beauty untouched by time. But it is a beauty that hides a shadow. Somewhere within its walls, the woman in red waits. She is more than a ghost. She is a memory etched in the very fabric of the hotel. A scarlet reminder of betrayal, heartbreak, and a night that never truly ended. And so, the story lives on. Visitors still come to the Drake Hotel, some drawn by its elegance, others by the promise of encountering the woman in red. They say she appears when you least expect her, a vision in crimson and sorrow. Perhaps she is still searching for the man who betrayed her, or perhaps she waits for someone else to understand her pain, to share her story, and to remember her name. If you ever find yourself at the Drake Hotel, standing alone in a hallway or gazing out over Chicago from one of its many terraces, be careful. You might feel a chill, catch a glimpse of movement in the corner of your eye, or hear the faint sound of footsteps behind you. And if you do, don't turn around, for she might be there, her red dress flowing like fire in the dark. As we leave you here, remember, the legends of our weird world are boundless. If you've enjoyed this story, please share, like, and subscribe to our channel for more content. Your support enables us to keep these stories alive. Until next time, stay curious and stay away from the icy terraces of the Drake, lest you join the woman in red.